Oh, there we are. We're late. Sorry. We had too much going on. Well, we left early. He did. Something's wrong with the trailer. And I think today we're going to talk about inflammation. And he needed to go get something. If we got anybody on here, say hey. Anyway, I am constantly inflamed, so we're always trying supplements. Curcumins are supposed to be amazing. I take a lot of them. I have my favorites. Turmeric is also good, de-stressing, but that's a problem with me. Let's see, eating good. Lots of good oils is good for you. And I'm not sure what else he's going to talk about today. I think he was going to try to talk about some vitamin D because we have a patient that has overloaded of vitamin D, but then yet they don't have enough. So we'll see what that's all about.
All right. Sorry, I had to go get stuff. I tried to get it all set up on the other iPad. I just ran out of time this morning.
It's okay. I demanded coffee with them. Y'all just have to wait.
So, what have you talked about?
My inflammation and what I eat for it.
Okay. So, let's really get into inflammation because inflammation is one of the great drivers of our health issues. And it drives everything. They're calling it now inflammaging. And so if you start to think about the things that this drives, I mean, inflammation increases, starts to scar the arteries. It starts to scar the veins. It keeps you amped up. So if your body is inflamed, you're always in that fight or flight. So this causes a big issue. And inflammation, we like to think of, show me your arm where you got the poison ivy. So we like to think of inflammation as this red, calor, dolor stuff. But that goes on inside your cells too. That's one of the foundational immune responses for the body is this inflammation. And if you don't keep that in check, then the problem you're going to have is you're going to age rapidly. You're going to scar yourself from the inside out. One of just the low-level tests, and I don't have the paperwork here, but one of the low-level tests that we test everybody for are the omega-3 fatty acids. And I picked the omega-3 fatty acids because omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, omega-12, these are all a family, and we're probably going to learn more about it. Hi, Kath. We're probably going to learn that there are more fats also. This style of research is just in its infancy, and it's super exciting. But the omega-3 pathway seems to be the most anti-inflammatory. Actually, if I can pull this up over here, omega-3 pathway. If I can pull that up over here, then we will get to see, I'll show you kind of some of this, and we will see how it works for the body. See if I can find a good, I usually come in early and I just wasn't prepared. I didn't get it done. I should have done it last night. And I did not. So that's a pretty good one. So what I'm going to do is share a screen right now. And I'm actually going to blow that up. So when we look at these right here, this side right here is, let me bring it up over here. Can I do that? So when we look at the omega-3 pathway right here, the alpha linoleic acid, that is on the right-hand side of that picture. So when we see this, we start to look at how are we going to, more than one way to skin a cat. Think on my feet. There we go. Now we can see it. And now I can mark it up. So you see the omega-3 pathway right here. I need to turn my pen on. If I do that, that's going to drop off. Always something, as my dad says. Well, if you look at the right-hand side of that, it says omega-3 pathway, and we're starting at alpha linoleic acid. See these enzymes right here? There are 5 enzymes that you have to make these conversions. Those enzymes are the enzymes in the middle. And that those middle enzymes, that first one starts to, we have about a 20 to 30% chance of having an incorrect SNP in our bodies to begin with that do not allow us to make this enzyme, and they don't allow ALA to go right to stearidonic acid and then to eicosanostearic acid. And those are the beginning of the ALA pathway. And this is why being vegan and vegetarian does not always mean that you're going to have good omega-3 fatty acids. That's why having cold water fish, which comes down in on that right-hand side, that first kind of peachish orange box where it says EPA, that is the anti-inflammatory fat that we want to get. And when you look to the left of it, you see that delta-5 desaturase. Delta-5 desaturase is inhibited by EPA so that the omega-6 pathway on the left-hand side doesn't go down and form arachidonic acid. And if you do any searching on arachidonic acid when out of balance is a horrible, horrible thing to just let run through the body. We need it. It's very needed for having good healing response. Arachidonic acid is part of our healing response. So once we do that, once we can try to inhibit that, insulin promotes this. And so we don't want that all to happen. So if we input, once again, back over the right-hand side, EPA, then we can start to push the anti-inflammatory pathway. And this is just one way to push the anti-inflammatory pathway. So after we do that, the body begins, if you look at research and studies, so we do the omega-3 test, and the omega-3 test shows us that the amount of EPA that we have in the body, if we make that greater than 9%, we start to inhibit cardiovascular issues. Now, in some people, very high doses, once we're starting to get up into the 6, 7, 8 grams, if they have some cardiac issues already, they have seen some anecdotal evidence that this might make AFib a little worse. So we kind of have to play push and pull with this to make sure we stay right around that 2,000 to 3,000 limit. There seem to be no issues with the 2,000 to 3,000 limit. So once we go from there, then we want to start to see this one also come up. And that DHA is loved by the brain. And so a lot of the fat of the brain is DHA. A lot of the fat of the peripheral nervous system is the EPA.
And breast milk.
And, oh yeah, and breast milk. And so, actually didn't know that. Tie in there?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So once we start to look at this and think about that, these are the things that just seem to be foundational. So we have to have a foundational greater than 9% of this EPA or omega-3 fats in our bloodstream just to have a healthy nervous system. And then we also have now found out that it's not only having a healthy nervous system, but it's having a healthy inflammatory response, because those things are the things that help modulate that. On top of that, for a healthy immune response, we really want to have lots of bioflavonoids. So lots of colors in the diet. The more colors we have from pigmented foods, and when I say pigmented foods, I'm talking about the reds from apple skins, the purples from plums, the purples from eggplant, your red and yellow peppers, all of those different bioflavonoids also help modulate inflammation. And so getting into this and getting this to the point that, getting us to the point that we're healthy, those things are the things that, so you got to have a sealed gut. If you don't have a sealed gut, then you're going to be inflamed.
That's hard work.
That is hard work, depending on how much damage you have done. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to talk about a few products that we use. So we do the lipid labs, EPA, DHA, and with that, we get to check the percentage of omega-3 fats in somebody's bloodstream. We know if you're less than 9%, we have to work that up. If we don't work that up, inflammation will go unchecked in the body. The next thing that we do is we start to see if the gut is working the way that it's supposed to do. Because if you remember from a few weeks ago, we talked about having a leaky gut, and your gut or bowel is supposed to be a tube. It goes from the mouth to the anus, and it's supposed to be closed. But if you're eating things that your body doesn't like, you start to poke holes in the side of that, and you start to allow things into the bloodstream that are not supposed to be in the bloodstream. And that starts an allergic reaction, which starts an inflammatory response. How do you know if you're inflamed? Give me some signs of inflammation.
Swelling.
Swelling's number one. Blurry vision. If your eyes aren't focusing right, that's a sign of inflammation. Stiff and painful joints, that's a sign of inflammation. I have a patient who was
a poster child.
Yeah. I have a patient who, once we got him less inflamed, his balance got better. And so it just affects everything. And it's such a small thing that you don't think about until, well, like with you, we didn't. Your MD hit you with pred, and everything cleared up for a while. But that's the Band-Aid. The Band-Aid is the prednisone. You can't live on it. You'll swell up like a tick. You'll get osteoporosis. What else does pred do to you long term?
It gives you that buffalo hump.
Buffalo hump, destroys the gut. There's all kinds of things.
Makes you fat, moon-faced.
So you know, it's just a Band-Aid, and it's a poor Band-Aid at that. Works great in the beginning, but then you got to dig down into why the things are happening. And we're going to be pulling more blood on you.
Yeah, we can't.
She's my most difficult case.
No, I try. I mean, I don't try to be difficult. I can't help it.
Anyway, and so
you just swell up like a balloon.
The lightest thing, man. Bugs. If she gets bit by a bug, it swells up. I mean,
yeah, I'm a hot mess. I'm just a hot mess.
One of the reasons why I'm talking about inflammation, one of the ways I start to think about this is to talk it out. So then I get ideas on her and my other patients that are inflamed. And so then I can sit there and say, that's what I forget. Anyway, getting back to it. So doing things to seal the gut, and we're actively in the middle of sealing up your gut, helping
Yeah, I
the
choke it
mucus
down
later.
every day.
Yes, that's one of the things where we talk about stress. How much stress, and I don't know, how much stress is too much stress. So she's choking this stuff down, and I can see it physically almost pains her to do it. Is that causing too much stress, causing leaky gut, causing problems also?
I doubt it.
How do you know? And none of my colleagues know, none of my whatever know. Oh, another reason why I want to talk about inflammation. A little nugget that I learned. There are basically two forms of vitamin D in the body. Blood tests at LabCorp, which is something I have depended on for years. I have a patient that came in with really high vitamin D levels, and it's the 25 hydroxy vitamin D. So she has high vitamin D in her blood, but when I did the functional test, and I wish I was a genius and could say that I intended to do this, but I didn't. This is one of those God things. And he's like, yeah, hey, there's still a difference. When I did the functional micronutrient test, I went ahead and they do a vitamin D anyway. So I just checked it and said, do the vitamin D and we'll see. It's already high. So I know that. But it's a functional test. This measures it inside the white blood cell. This measures what's functionally there and available. And she was low. And that stumped us for about 12 hours. We sat there and had to start doing research and asking about it, and then asking people that are smarter than us. And they came back with, oh, well, that's a functional test. This patient does not get the blood. This patient does not get the vitamin D into the cell. And since they don't get it into the cell can't use it. So it's kind of like having a full tank of gas, but a broken fuel pump.
And iron is kind of the same.
Everything's the same.
You can take a supplement, an iron supplement, and people will still be tired. I did the same. So if you checked my iron levels, I had plenty floating in my blood, but I had none on my hemes. So you can't use it. It's there, but it's available, but your body's not using it.
And so when I did this test and I found that out, I'm going to go to a liposomal form of vitamin D for this patient because she's low in vitamin D. And that was the stumper. Her one was outside the range of functional. It was too high. And I was like, well, congratulations. You're the first person I'm going to tell to stop taking vitamin D. And then now I'm going to go back and say, congratulations.
Well, this person actually, this is another great reason why you should see a functional medicine person and have your labs drawn, because she brought in literally a grocery bag full of supplements. And they were talking about all the money they spend every month on these meds. And they were so excited that they might save a little money and get rid of those. But if you're taking them in, spending your money, and you can't use them, your body cannot digest them, you can't get them into your cell, then you might as well just be pouring them down the drain.
Yep. And this makes me go, we're going back to square one. And I'm going to send you the questionnaire again, and we're just going to end up running a whole bunch of tests on her. Because honestly, the functional tests are she's my longest standing functional medicine patient. And you're off of your medications, and we've gone from trying to get things to work right inside her to where they're working more correctly, but we still see signs of inflammation. There's a problem with histamine, and there's a problem with the way her body deals with histamine and this stuff, which is a form of inflammation. So now she feels the best when we put her on these histamine blockers, but you cannot block histamine long term. If you block the histamine long term, you're going to cause other issues.
But see, I swell up like a balloon. I look like a marshmallow because I have
Yeah. And so we're going to go back to, and this is part of it. If somebody tells you they know the answer, they're either A, God, or B, lying. And so it literally is like looking at this roll of paper towel, and you peel off one layer and then you go around it again. And some people have more layers than others.
Yeah, but it's not diet.
No. We've got diet nailed.
And I have in there all kinds of energy because I can work round circles around people.
Yep. Yeah, we've helped that aspect of it. And now my brain goes to doing if you think about the cell itself, it's a beautiful and simplistic thing. You have a lipid layer on the outside. You have a lipid layer that separates outside from inside. This creates action potential. And if that membrane isn't working on the cell itself, which it's not in her, then we have to start to fix this.
Tell them what gets in here. This is so your cell membrane has like a hydrophonic and loves water. There's two cells.
It's a hydrophilic, hydrophobic. Yeah. It's a fat layer.
Fat goes through faster and it holds it.
Well, it can't stop fat. Yeah.
It's a transport.
And so they're called chylomicrons, and they're what transport stuff around in the blood.
Phospholipid.
But the cell is a bilayer. It's a phospholipid bilayer.
One loves water, one loves fat.
Yep. And so that's what creates the potential. The stronger that cell is, and the stronger that cell can work, it creates more potential energy. So it's kind of like pushing against a bunch of it's like whoever remembers an old waterbed. And so you could push the waterbed up and get down to here and clean it and move the heating pad around and do stuff, but then you would let it go. And the stronger you were, the farther you could push that waterbed up and get underneath and check it and do what you need to do. And then you let it go and it flop, and then it all comes out. The stronger your membrane is, the more it can hold out until you need to turn the switch. And then when you turn that switch, that's an action potential, and it creates a lot of energy. And you want a strong layer so that energy is there. And that's what comes back to that. The EPA. The EPA is a very strong portion of the bilipid layer. And so that's when we start to say these things are multimodal. So when you have low omega-3 acids, we also know that you're going to have problems with the bilipid layer. I have a low phase angle, and phase angle is what that lipid layer is, but my omega-3 content is good. So then it's taking how that's made and helping it more. We use PC for that. PC helps with making the lipid layer better. And those are the things that you have to go through and you keep digging at. And so with her, it's building that foundation up again. We got to help the cells. As a matter of fact, we're going to go do another phase angle on her here in just a second. But when you're eating, and this is how it all attaches to, when you're eating, if you have a leaky gut, then you can't keep the bad things out, and you let what are called lipopolysaccharides in. And she feels better when she's taking something like the Mega IgG 2000, because that binds to the lipopolysaccharides and pulls them out and gets rid of them in the stool. We use stuff like the Mega Guard to help reseal the gut so that the gut will keep everything out that needs to be out. Sometimes you just need to give the body a break. You need to give it a chance to heal. You're on the mega mucosa. Similar, not the same. And then for inflammation, because we already know that inflammation is an issue, we do the high dose omega-3 fatty acids. And then in my coffee, that people that are patients know, in my coffee every morning, I do the Golden Fusion. I do a tablespoon, which is 7,800 milligrams of EPA DHA. And then I will put in, and lately I've been doing butter because I'm working on my own microbiome. But this is the stuff that you have to do. And it does come down to a choice, because it's not necessarily cheap to rebuild a gut, and it's not inexpensive to rebuild your cells. But I would rather take the membrane mend is a 20-day protocol, and I'll probably do it twice. And I'm going to put her on it, and she's going to do it twice. She hates liquids. Poor girl.
It's flavors. You can't taste like I can taste.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't even have a problem eating stuff I don't like. Well, I eat things I don't like just because they tell me it's good for me. But those are the things that we do. So for you out there that aren't patients, that are wondering about inflammation, we have a great anti-inflammatory bundle that we put almost all of our new patients on, and they absolutely love it. And those products, you can get them at there. And before I do that, they're the Golden Fusion. They are the Omega Genix EPA DHA 2400, and I do the Phyto Multi, because you got to have the nutrients, the micronutrients, in to run all the machinery. So if you go to indianachiropractic.com,
if you have a sensitive stomach, or even if you don't, eat before you take that Phyto Multi.
Oh yeah, no, you have to eat with the Phyto Multi. I don't care who you are. Functional medicine products. Code. So, for those of you interested in the Golden Fusion, Omega Genix, and Phyto Multi, you go to indianachiropractic.com, functional medicine products, Metagenics code, go to Metagenics, and then the practitioner code is T Miller. And that will allow you to get the Golden Fusion, the Omega Genix EPA DHA 2400, and the Phyto Multi. And that's just a very low-level anti-inflammatory program that you can do every day, and it helps knock out inflammation. And I do it. You don't do the Golden Fusion.
No, but I use the I really like the Inflamed Intensive Care.
Yeah, she uses a different product.
But you can use that for headaches and achy pain joints, which I have all that, but that's also from inflammation. But it's good stuff.
All right. Well, we've been told to try to keep this a little shorter. We cut it in half. All right. Thank you. Oh, Kathy, I think they're looking forward to their Batar trip. Y'all have a great day.
See you later.